Hello there, and welcome to episode 243 of the FlameFlash.net podcast. I'm recording later than usual um, in the week, mostly because I've been gaming. I've been actually getting to game in the evenings, which is crazy, I know. A sword agent reached out on both Monday and Tuesday night and was like, hey, you want to play Repo? And well, okay, sounds great. I'm sitting here, I'm about to start podcasting, but you know what? Family time comes first. I do this podcast for the heck of it, for the fun of it. So if one of the kids wants to do something instead, by golly, I'm going to do it. Um, and so we've played Repo. I have played some Civ 7, Sonic Generations. I'm doing some research on Sonic Generations, and I'm kind of wondering what the big deal is. I think this game's just poorly designed. So it's kind of funny that there was a re-release. I'm leaning towards abandoning it, actually, because I like your traditional platformers. And Sonic Generations tries to mix things up, even back when it first came out, and offer boss battles and these harder, supposedly challenges, but they're not satisfying. So why keep playing something that I'm not finding satisfying? And actually, I just went and hit uninstall on Sonic Generations on my computer right now. And we'll let it, and poof, there it went. It's just I'll uninstall from my Steam Deck later. The backlog is a little less backloggy. For those of you that don't remember, or may not remember, or have problematic relationships with motherly figures, it is Mother's Day coming up this next weekend. I bought a couple of cards I'll be filling out and mailing off as the podcast processes. They'll probably arrive on Monday. I'm an adoptee. So I send to both my biological mom, who I more regularly call mom at this point, and the mom that raised me, who I don't talk to as often, but I might as well kindly say, I remember you, and I'm going to remember you on this day, because some of the estrangement is her fault and some of it isn't. Um, Well, I guess it's all probably her fault, but I can easily forgive her on some of it. Not going to go into personal dirty laundry. Speaking of, if the alarm goes off, I have laundry in the washer I need to go take care of later, but I'm going to leave it alone. World of Warcraft has also been played, and I have attempted to get further in um, My Hero Academia. I'm starting to catch up with the kids, getting closer. We have started watching the new series Maul on Disney Plus, new animated series. The first episode barely kept my attention. Barely kept my attention. The second episode feels better. So that first episode, I'm still trying to figure out where in the timeline, when in the timeline this is. That would have helped me on the first episode to come out and say, here we are this amount of time into episode 4 or before episode 4. and like it's after the Solo movie. I know that much. Um, and that's about all I know. And that's annoying. That's really annoying to me. Like it must be after the Siege of Mandalore, obviously, because the Empire is, up and running in full, and the Siege of Mandalore happened at the same time as Episode 3. So it just, I would really appreciate timing. There are still some Jedi, clearly, or at least Force trained individuals, clearly from the fall. So either Inquisitors aren't fully up and running yet, or they don't even exist yet. I guess we'll figure that out as time goes on. In Speaking of Inquisitors, there are rumors flying around that the Trump administration is trying to authorize ICE to start going after trans people for some reason. Like that's way outside the scope of that department's purview. So I am hoping that rumor is inaccurate and wrong. There's only 1% of the population that needs to be looked at harder, and the president is part of that 1%. The rich, just to spell it out. It's kind of ironic because the whole Make America Great Again seems to forget that the era they are trying to go back to, the rich were taxed at a much, much higher rate. Much higher rate. Exorbitantly higher rate. That's how we got the interstate system. If I am anything politically, I am probably an Eisenhower Republican. And they truly believed in limited government, but to use government's power to perform public works. It wasn't all of this grifting back to um, the rich and the wealthy and the top 1%. It was live and let live, leave people alone, let's bolster the economy. Let's let the government bolster the economy by um, taking all the tax revenue and building projects and doing things. Kind of like how Roosevelt did during the Great Depression. So that was 1956. That was the Make America Great Again. Now, something to keep in mind is that Make America Great Again that back then was before the Civil Rights Movement. We can't erase the Civil Rights Movement or allow it to be erased. The Voting Rights Act decision by the Supreme Court recently attempts to do just that. Louisiana goes so far as to try to wipe out early voting for primaries because they want to run and redistrict. The beautiful irony is that they are now calling for the Louisiana governor to be recalled. There is a recall effort going on against the Louisiana governor due to his very unethical and questionably, even if it's legal, actions around suspending the primary race. Some people still voted in it. Others didn't. By doing what they did, that's completely screwed up everything. There are some court cases going on trying to stop it, trying to cause a stay. We'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, speaking of court cases, Comey was indicted the day after the last podcast came out for his social media post about 8647. Here's the thing, though. This is selective enforcement. This is selective punishment. There have been other viral posts regarding 86ing other presidents, specifically Biden. So if the Justice Department is going to go after Comey for this, they also need to go after these social media influencers that did the same thing for President 46. So it's pretty dang obvious that this is an indictment against free speech. 86ing doesn't mean kill. Like, it means to discard, cancel, refuse service. It doesn't mean kill or destroy. It's primarily a hospitality thing. Um, like 86 the customer, kick them out. Or 86 the salmon because we're out. Or, oh crap, there's mold on it. So let the customer know they need to order something else. I remember one time in a restaurant, way back in high school, that they tried to 86 a shish kebab that I had ordered. It's like, well, I being my young logical self and not thinking things through on like the larger picture of why might the staff not even want to do a shish kebab. I've made shish kebabs since then. They do take a while. They're they're dang worth it. They're tasty. But I countered the server with, well, politely, with, are you still serving steak? Because if can't the steak just be cut, squared, and put on one of the skewers? It was an honest question. It was an innocent question, but I'm sure the kebab skewer squares cubes were probably of a different cut than whatever the steak was in stock. So while my parents at the time were like, oh, well, isn't he logical and smart? There are other considerations to keep in mind in those kinds of situations that I wasn't aware of back then. But 86ing doesn't mean kill. It's not a threat. So this is going to get thrown out in court so fast, and they're just going to look silly and dumb again. I mean, it's a pretty regular thing for this administration right now, but they're going to look silly and dumb again. So something to point out was the King Charles visit and some of the small roasts um, that he dropped are just highly amusing. Go forth, look up the content. There's plenty of people talking about it already, reacting to it. If you haven't even had a chance, I'm way behind on things, so you've probably had a chance. But let's circle back to that 1956 piece. Just skimming through, further reductions in government spending without weakening the support of a superior defense program. So they're still going in the military industrial complex. Balancing the budget. Oh, that's a gradual reduction of the national debt. That's something the Republicans just don't do anymore. The Trump administration has thrown this country into so deep of debt that China is selling off bonds at a record rate. Record rate. So let's see here. Consistent initiation of sound policy of tax reductions, which will encourage small independent businesses to modernize and progress. Business and economic policy. They were all about privatization, but small business privatization and labor, increased wages. But the rich were being taxed. And that's the root of it. Oh, look, we recommend to Congress the submission of a constitutional amendment providing equal rights for men and women. They wanted to codify in the Constitution equal rights for men and women. We wouldn't have a Roe v. Wade situation if they had done that. Because then women would have a right to the privacy that they deserve in the doctor's office, and we couldn't legislate their rights away. Just saying. Kind of like how we need post Trump amendments during the Biden era and just stuck our heads in the sand and went, oh, he's gone. Let's try to forget that ever happened. Even though we're the hantavirus is knocking on the world stage door going, hi there, how's it going? 3 deaths confirmed, others are severely sickened on a cruise ship. They're in quarantine. We'll just have to wait and see. We're already kind of screwed um, federally, but we're going to be even more screwed if something like that hits. Penta is worse than COVID, and COVID was bad. So yeah, just be on guard. Be on guard, friends. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Whether that's illnesses or other things. Like just look at gas prices. Can you guys really say, red hat wearers, that you are better off now than in 2024? Just just asking for a friend, because when I go to the grocery store now and spend $100, while yes, spending $100 in the grocery store 10 years ago, I was getting more than I was getting 2 years ago. I am getting so much less now for $100 that it's it's scary. I'm I'm not well off, but for the most part my budget breaks even every month until, these gas prices started soaring out of control. So I'm worried for those that are less fortunate than me. And what's going to happen when more people, because people already are, but when more people are having to decide, do I put money in my gas tank or do I pay rent? Do I put money in my gas tank so I can get to work and then skip eating both breakfast and lunch because I just can't afford it? It's getting worrisome and scary. I'm Sadly, my theory is that this is on purpose. The turmoil being caused is actually on purpose. Let's strain and drain as much as possible so that they can have their version of a crystal Nacht. And if you don't know what that is, please go look it up, because we're on the verge. People are suffering. And this administration is going to do anything and everything they can to cancel elections, but they need some kind of emergency to do so. And what better way to cause that than a hunger riot in a major city? For unemployment to soar, yet government programs are hacked to bits. It's it's getting worrisome. Very worrisome. I mean, there is some cool stuff going on out there. Like, there was atmosphere detected on a tiny ice world beyond Pluto, for example. But it just it's like the announcement that aliens exist. Statistically speaking, we assume that was true, but releasing that news didn't successfully distract us from what's going on at all, which is, oh, well, that's cool, but can I eat that news? No, I can't at all. I hear the murderer of Renee Good is back to work. That's disturbing. Locally, I heard that there was an ICE agent who got all weepy and scaredy catty about being followed, which that's a violation of First and Fourth Amendment rights to get upset that somebody is simply following a public officer but not interfering in their official duties. why are you even in law enforcement agency if you don't have thick skin? I question that whole agency, that whole agency's existence. Like personally, things are going great. A little worried about the gas prices, a little worried about food prices, but overall, life is good. I am very much looking forward to this weekend for very personal reasons. And life is good. Somebody's very special to me. And I'll leave it at that. And I'm going to close with that because we need some good news right now. We need some positive vibes right now. I need to process this file and get it posted. I can hear the laundry spinning in the basement. So it's almost done. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Hold your loved ones close. We can and will get through this. I am going to be pleasantly shocked and surprised if we get through this peacefully. I want to be wrong. I want it to be peaceful. But I am fearful of if it will be or not. We'll just have to wait and see completely. So with that, my friends, podcast at flameflesh.net, or leave a comment in the various places that you might find me here. My words are my own. And remember, freedom and autonomy are the rights of all sentient beings. Until then, at this point, I want to go even further left, learn more, protect my neighbors, improve their lives. Because the golden rule is not those that have the gold make the rules. And it's time we remind everyone of that fact. Prosecute the Trumpstein files. Take care and good night.